bum bum da 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 bum bum da. Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the Roomies Digest. My name's Christine and I'm one half of the Roomies, and today, if you clicked on this video, you know that we are doing a little reading vlog. Short little story time. I was watching Heartstopper, as we do, and I kind of noticed that one of the characters kept reading books every scene, our tall, dark, mysterious Isaac. I kept trying to figure out what the books were that he was reading, because some of them look really old, some of them looked very interesting, and some of them I could kind of tell. Like there was one scene where you can clearly tell that he's reading like an Oseman book, and like other scenes like that. And so I was like, okay, I'm just gonna have to go through and like find out what each of these books are, because I had a big brain idea. What if I read all the books that Isaac read in Heartstopper? I said in the May TBR that I was going to be doing a lot of mood reading this month, and I don't want to say that I lied, because I didn't. I did go down this path of ordering all the books and pretty much planning out how I'm going to be reading in May. Isaac actually reads a like very wide selection of books. So there are 8 episodes. There are 9 books that Isaac reads in all of these episodes. So I had the option of rewatching Heartstopper for like the 5th time and going through and trying to figure out each one of these books, like literally like zooming in and being like, what are these books? Or something also very serendipitous, very like fate happened. Netflix UK, which I now follow because of Heartstopper, posted each of Isaac's books from all the episodes for me. I mean, for everyone, but really, I was like, thank you. This couldn't have been more perfect. So if you like go through this post, I'm gonna like pop it up on the screen so you guys can see that in the first episode, he's reading Dune Messiah, which is the 2nd book in the Dune series. Then he's reading Naruto volume 72, which is gonna be so interesting because I have never read a Naruto manga in my life. Never in my life. I had no interest whatsoever. The 3rd one is Quantum Mechanics, The Theoretical Minimum by Leonard Susskind and Art Friedman. The 4th one is A Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson, which I have actually, you know, heard of and wanted to read. So there we go. At least there's one on there besides, well, do I want to read Dune? The 5th one is Proud by Gareth Thomas. I have no idea what this is. I'm hoping it's like Pride, as in LGBTQIA. I don't know what else it could be. I haven't looked up any of these, like literally no idea. The 6th one is Pride and Prejudice, which obviously I've read before. One of my favorite books, and I actually didn't have to buy that one, so that's great. The 7th is Radio Silence by Alice Oseman, which I've been wanting to read for a while. It's been on my TBR. Number 8 is Gender Explorers, Our Stories of Growing Up Trans and Changing the World by Juno Roche. Isaac, you have so much range. Last but not least, There Is No Planet B, A Handbook for the Make or Break Years, by Mike Berners-Lee. That one's probably gonna freak me out, I'm not gonna lie, because I'll be like, oh my god, the world is ending because we all can't do any recycling or anything. Anyway, so those are the books in the list. And as you guys know, I'm gonna be starting off with none other than Dune Messiah. Okay, if you guys were with us last year when the Dune movie came out, I did a whole reading vlog on reading Dune in a week. And if you guys are interested in that vlog, I will link it up in the cards. It does have spoilers, just so you know. But lucky enough for me, I didn't have to read that book before reading this one. I don't know, it just seemed a little serendipitous that this would be the first one. Also, it's only 330 pages, which is such a stark difference to the first one, because I feel like the first one is like 700 pages long. It was a lot to get through. So can I say that I'm like excited for this one? Like, I wasn't planning on reading it, but I did annotate the first one and I do know what's going on in the world, and I am going to continue on with the movie. So do I dare? Anyway, so this is going to be the first one that I'm vlogging with you guys, and we'll get into it. We'll see how it goes. I mean, Isaac clearly has range, and I'm hoping that I will learn something here, especially when I get to the quantum physics, quantum mechanics, quantum theory, whatever book that was. I'm not a science person, but I can imagine what it would be like quantumly. So yeah, guys, that's it. That's the beginning of this vlog. So if you're here, thank you so much for joining us, and go watch Heartstopper again, because I'm going to definitely once I finish this vlog. Okay, see you in a little. Okay, everybody. Okay. Really quick, I have started Dune. I am reading Dune. I have 1 tab in Dune. And I just want to say, I think I'm going to like this book a lot more than I thought. If you guys haven't read Dune, and no spoilers, I'm not going to spoil anything, but I just want to tell you really quick what it's about. Basically, there is a young man, Paul Atreides, who's part of basically a governing family. His dad has to move to Dune to govern it. Once they get to Dune, they find out that the conditions there are very, very hard to live in. It's basically a desert planet, and stuff hits the fan. So Paul ends up being like kind of like the hero character of Dune in the first book. So I was reading the introduction, which is by Brian Herbert, which is Frank Herbert's son. And I just thought that this was a perfect summation of what this book is going to be about. It says, among my father's most important messages were that governments lie to protect themselves and they make incredibly stupid decisions. Herbert warned young people not to trust government, telling them that the American founding fathers had understood this and had attempted to establish safeguards in the Constitution. The author felt that heroic leaders often made mistakes. Mistakes were amplified due to the number of followers who also held thrall by charisma. Very few readers realized that the story of Paul Atreides was not only a Greek tragedy on an individual and familial scale. There was also yet another layer, even larger, in which Frank Herbert was warning that entire societies could be led to ruination by heroes. Y'all, it's literally called Dune Messiah. I think stuff is gonna hit the fan in this one. I mean, honestly, everything that I maybe hated about the first Dune, this one might be better. It sounds like Frank Herbert knew what he was talking about. I mean, this man wrote in the 60s. When did this one come out? 1969. Okay, I might like this more than I thought I would. Okay, we're gonna get into it. We're gonna get into it. But also, Isaac, you might have been onto something, buddy. Also, I did want to say really quick, and then for real, but in the beginning, it also says that this book flopped. Like, this book, when it came out, is super flopped. And that's because everybody was so obsessed with the first Dune, because Paul Atreides was like this huge hero. It was like a huge sci-fi. If you watch my vlog, I talk about how it was basically like one of the biggest like widespread sci-fis. Like, it wasn't obviously the first ever sci-fi ever written, but it definitely was like mass produced. Like, everyone was reading Dune apparently. So this book, in contrast, really flopped because it kind of shows the darker side of Paul Atreides, and I think that that is so interesting. I truly had no idea what this book was about, so it'll be interesting to see how it connects to Heartstopper. Maybe, possibly. It could not be that deep. We'll see. But it also could be that deep. Anyway, okay, so that's all I want to say, is that it flops hardcore. And this might be the book that everybody actually likes. It's shorter, first of all. Second of all, it shows the real, like, parts of a human being, the dark parts that no one wants to really face. And three. I don't have a 3, but maybe I'll have a 3 by the end of this, okay? And that's all I've got to say. Okay, guys, we need to talk. Let me get comfortable. Let me just, okay. Okay, first of all, I finished Dune. I finished Dune Messiah. Did I like it more than the first book? Oh my God. Okay, so I'm trying to remember what I even said about the first book. I feel like the one thing that I said was that one, written a long time ago, written by a cis white man. You know, some of the terms really rude, outdated. We shouldn't talk about people in this way, right? And that is still the lens that this one was written in. So honest to God, if you don't like the writing style, if you don't like the voice of the first Dune, you will not like this book, right? That's not to say that I did like it. What I'm on about right now is the plot of this book, and I see why people are cuckoo bananas for the Dune saga. I see it. I'm not cuckoo bananas. Like, I'm not saying this is like a 5-star perfect read that I would recommend to everybody, but like, the plot in this book, guys, like, I could never. The way that the plot twisted, and then the plot twisted again, and I was like,
Oh my God, the drama. Obviously, I'm a sci-fi reader because this was just like my cup of tea. I'm like, what the what? Let's just address a couple of things. First of all, his son, he said that this was a really disappointing book when it was released because everybody wanted it to be just like Dune. And it wasn't. If anything, it was like a bridge between Dune 1 and Children of Dune, which is the third book in the Dune saga. So a lot of people were disappointed because this book really doesn't focus on, like, the first book is very much about setting up the world. Like, you have 850 pages of like getting all the characters, setting up the world, having all this political intrigue and all this crazy stuff, and also having a mystery because you're trying to figure out like, why is Dune important if it's just a big ball of sand? So in this one, all of that's been established. So we basically have to like go forward and be like, all right, what's happening now that Paul has been the emperor? This does have a time jump of 15 years, which I wasn't mad about because I know Paul was already young in the first book. So he's like, I want to say he's like 30 something in this book. I liked it. I don't mind time jumps. I know people get really angry about time jumps, but I don't mind them. There's one in the Daevabad trilogy that I really love. Like, I think it's great. It means that we don't have to go through the mundane, everyday workings of the characters' lives. And that's how this book is written. So what else can I say other than like the plot is really crazy? Like, obviously I'm not going to spoil it for you guys. The slog was real because his writing style is very hard to get through, like as a 2022 like young woman, but 300 pages is so much better than 850 pages. This would be like the spoilery part. So if you guys do not want any spoilers, I'm going to take 30 seconds to a minute to say this. And I'm going to put a time clip so you guys know exactly when to skip forward to. So this is going to be the one spoilery thing that I say. And if you don't want that, skip forward to like this time right now. Okay, so now that we have that out of the way, the one thing that I was like LOLing, like, did freaking George Lucas get the whole plot of Star Wars from Dune? I just want to be really honest with you guys. I don't watch conspiracy theory videos or like conspiracy theory. What am I saying? I don't watch comparison videos. Like, I don't watch that kind of YouTube stuff. Like, I'm barely a YouTuber. Like, I literally just watch my BookTube friends, and that's pretty much the down low on my YouTube / like any kind of drama watching. But I feel like there are probably videos out there that say Star Wars is the literal plot of Dune. Like, when I say it's the literal plot, I literally wrote in here and I was like, George Lucas, if this isn't the most Star Wars thing I've ever heard, OMFG. Specifically, the third movie. Even down to the twins, okay? The boy and the girl. All right, anyway, so I'm gonna quit on that. The freaking being able to see into the future, like the Jedi, you know what I mean? That's really crazy. The most significant sagas in the history of literary science fiction. They're not wrong. I feel like so much stuff is pulled from this. Like, literally genius. The plot is genius. I mean, it really is. Now, there are some things that I'm just kind of like, all right, what? For example, him naming his son after his dad, and then the daughter, I think, was named after like literally the meaning of the word a spoil of war. Pretty sure that's what it means. Frank, you couldn't even give the girl like Chani's name, like her mom's name. You had to give her some weird, like, lesser than thou name. Anyway, so there are obviously some things that are effed up about this book, and like, it's not perfect. It's not even close to perfect. It's not even like really super good. The plot really blew me away. So I think this is like a 4.5, somewhere in between there. I liked it a little bit better than the first one, but like I said, still a slog. The other thing I wanted to mention, so going back to his son really quick, and then we will get on with this vlog. His son mentioned that this book was like such an upset because people wanted it to be like the first Dune, but this book really hones in on Dune Messiah, right? Because at this point, Paul is seen as like a god. He's seen as like the god of Dune. He's in their eyes like a messiah, basically, because he's got these like super crazy powers. What Frank was trying to do is he was trying to tell people through his writing that when you trust government, like government as an overall being, as like a huge entity, when you trust them blindly, bad things happen, right? And in this book, he cites like Adolf Hitler, and he cites like Genghis Khan. And there's this one scene, which is not a spoiler, I'm just gonna use it as an example, where Paul is trying to tell like his not co-workers, but like, you know, the people around him, his helpers, his like people, you know, he's the emperor, so he's got these little handlers or whatever. He's trying to tell them, he's like, look, you can't just follow me blindly. Like, I'm not a good guy, right? This power that I have, it's not natural. You know, I'm not supposed to have it. And they're like, what are you talking about, man? You like the emperor, you real cool. Like, you do all this cool stuff, and you like see into the future. And he's like, look, I need you to review the history books. You know, talks about Adolf Hitler. And he's like, these guys have killed millions of people. I have killed 61 billion people, plus destroyed worlds, plus done all this other stuff. And you guys are still following me. The followers are like, yeah, but those people were unbelievers. Like, they didn't believe in you as the Messiah and blah, blah, blah. And Paul goes, bruh, they were believers. I just killed them. That's like the gist of this book, and I think that's why people were so upset, because like obviously when it came out, like late 60s, early 70s, right? People didn't want to be told that the government wasn't cool. Like, they didn't want to be told that the government wasn't looking out for them. Like, they wanted to be safe. They wanted to be taken away into a sci-fi realm. They didn't want to bring politics into a book. But I'm low-key like, is this the book that everybody really wanted from Dune? Like, in 2022, was this the book that everybody wanted to actually read? I mean, the voice still kind of sucks, but the message is clear. Blown away by this second book. Like, this really, like, my expectations, y'all, I say this all the time. If your expectations are low when you go into a book, you know it's going to be freaking great. And I didn't go in thinking that. I just kind of thought it was going to be the same, you know what I'm saying? Like, the same-ish. I thought it was not going to be amazing. I was like, oh, it's smaller, thank God. Maybe there's not as much craziness, you know what I'm saying? But like, getting into this book, like, not just the plot twist, but like the major themes in the book. Frank Herbert, I think he's a little more woke than we give him credit for. Now, granted, he's still over here like calling people ugly names and like being a 1960s white man, but that was the time, I guess. To wrap it into this vlog and like kind of give this vlog a direction, because that's like why we're here. What we can tell from Isaac is, one, he's a sci-fi guy. He's a sci-fi guy, likes sci-fi, okay? Why was he reading this book in particular? I'm thinking like the movie came out last year and he just wanted to know what happens next. And so he was like, yeah, I'll just get into this like little tiny sci-fi. Like, it's like low-key a light read, like 300 pages. That is a light read from a person who reads big fantasy books. 300 pages, it ain't nothing. It ain't no thing. What I can also say is, maybe even if we're taking it as a reread, because his copy is not this copy. Like, this is the brand new, spanking new cover design and illustration by Jim Tierney. He's got the old, where they have like the drawn covers from like the 60s. That's the copy he's got. So maybe it was like his dad's copy. Maybe it's like a copy he's read many times. What I'm thinking is that this is almost a reread. And it's good. It's the one that he's reading. Like, it's so important that he's not reading the first Dune. He's reading the second Dune. The second Dune that hits on all these topics of politics, trusting big government, and being a little more woke than we were in the first book, while also being in the sci-fi like world of Dune, because you're in the setting. Like, that's what it is. It's really just about Paul 15 years later dealing with the consequences of all the things that he has done in the first book. Like, who knew I was gonna change my tune, y'all? Y'all saw me at the beginning of this vlog. I was like, I gotta read Dune. I gotta read Dune. Really, what I was trying to say is, like, if you're into the world of Dune, then you will enjoy this book. And that's probably why Isaac was reading it. Probably reads this and recognizes all the crap that's in it, but also it's literally going to be a huge movie franchise. So that's it, guys. That's Dune. I just went on a 10-minute rant about the end of Dune and why Isaac is reading it. On to lighter shores. In episode 2, Isaac ends up reading Naruto volume 72. This is so funny to me, y'all, because like, I watched the anime, like season 1, 2, maybe 3. You know what I'm saying? Like, I saw Naruto when he was a baby. He was a tiny young lad. And this is an adult right here. I have not kept up with this at all. I don't know what's going on in Naruto's life. Like, I don't even really know if I remember what happened to him in that first season. Anyway, so I'm gonna be reading in Naruto volume 72, but I'm going in blind, y'all. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on. I did just flip though to the second page, and thank God they have a character list. They do have a character list, so I will know some of the people. Like, I recognize a lot of this right here. Like, I know them. I know a couple of them. you know. But I assume it's going to be like any other kind of manga where, you know, it just keeps going and going and going until the end of time. So they have a little section that says the story so far. I didn't even see that because I'm a dummy. But that basically is going to catch me up on everything. Okay, so I might not hate this. I really might not hate this. The reason why I think he reads this in volume 72 is because this is a lot. Like, this was a lot. Dune really, I mean, like, not as many annotations as the first book that I did, but like still, there's some stuff going on in here. So this was really heavy. So I think he turns away from the heavy to something fun and kind of lighthearted. Even if you don't read anime, read anime. Somebody take me out. Take me out. Even if you don't read manga or watch anime, you know who Naruto is. I'm gonna read this and I will come check back in with you guys and let you guys know, you know, what's going on with Naruto. Oh, he's still young. Is he still young? Y'all, I can't tell. The drawing's confusing me. Okay, I'm gonna read this. I'll catch you guys in a little bit. This is the final volume of Naruto. The final volume. What? I just read the final volume of Naruto. What the heck? I mean, in my defense, the final volume is on the back, not on the front. So how is someone who's literally never read one of these mangas to know that this is the final volume? It's not even on the spine. Anyway, the dead giveaway was at the end of this, it's kind of like an epilogue and the art style is completely different than the actual manga. Like, but I kind of was like, why does everybody look like older? And then suddenly you find out that like people have children and like it's a whole nother storyline. So it's like a continuation of this, but like when everyone's older. Fun fact, Naruto is 17 in this. He actually states his age. Literally says, this is the final volume. Thank you so much for your support these past 15 years. I'd be honored if in the future you occasionally recall that there once was a character named Naruto. Well then, please enjoy the conclusion of Naruto. This came out in 2015. 2015 was 7 years ago. If anybody needs like a life update, a life check, that's where we're at right now. So like, what was this about? Basically, this is the end of Naruto. And it's so interesting that this is the one that Isaac is reading in Heartstopper, because in this final volume, there's a bunch of themes of friendship and like found family, just kind of like friendship honestly being the theme almost. Like friendship is most important, more important than anything. Because of that, you want to like fight for those relationships that like you hold dear. So I didn't think I was going to be getting that much out of this. Like, I did not realize this was the final volume. So it's really appropriate that that is what this is, because I literally have only seen like the first season of Naruto, like I said. So in the final volume, a lot of characters from the first season were like popping up as like the conclusion, you know what I mean? So that was interesting, because it's almost like I read the last page of the book, you know what I mean? And so now I know what happened in all of the series. Big themes on friendship, and obviously that is what Heartstopper is about. Heartstopper is all about love and found family and friends, and kind of like fighting for not only yourself, but like fighting for the relationships that you make with other people. And like, not to go too deep into Naruto, because I'm sure it's not like that prolific, like that deep, but that was like the major theme in this volume. Like, there's like actual heart-to-heart with the main characters. Interesting that this was the book. So yeah, I just finished this morning. I'm going to move on to the next book that Isaac read, which is Quantum Mechanics. This will probably take me the longest. So what I could understand from this, because I did read the back of it, It's basically like explaining quantum mechanics for like amateur scientists. It's like a guidebook almost, and like from what I can tell, like it's got lots of examples, like lots of charts. I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I probably will not understand most of this book. So we're gonna read quantum mechanics. We're gonna see how it goes. Hopefully we can learn why Isaac may have been reading this in Heartstopper. I'm sure he's probably like interested in science. I mean, he is a science dude though. Wait a minute, he is a science dude because of Dune. Okay, we're learning more about Isaac. Lecture 1. Oh boy, I'm in for it. Besties. I promise that there is a method to my madness, which will be revealed very shortly. Until then, carry on. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. It's been a number of days since my last check-in. I think I checked in last Wednesday, Thursday? Something like that, and today is Tuesday, so it's almost been a week, and that's just, you know, because life has been busy. It's been very busy and very hectic, but the good news is that I've read a number of books that we will be checking in on today. Short story time. You guys will see from the footage that I went to the library to check out a couple of books that were not previously mentioned in the beginning of this vlog. And the whole point of that is I was having a conversation with Stephanie from Stephanie Bookish, and she was like, what are you doing here at the library? Yada, yada, yada. And I was like, oh, I'm just like looking for this one book that's on the list. It was the Alice Oseman Radio Silence book, which I'll be reading later on in the vlog. And she was like, oh, like, is this for like the Heartstopper like reading vlog? And I was like, what? Because I had not told Stephanie about this reading vlog. And so I was like, how did you know that that's what I was doing? And she was like, oh, Fictional Fates put out a video like reading all of the books that Isaac from Heartstopper read. And it's like really interesting and cool. So is that what you're doing? And I was like, dang, man, what? And so then I had a whole imposter syndrome moment where I was like, do I even continue with the vlog? I thought this idea was original. And in talking to Stephanie, she was telling me that there were like 11 books or something. And then I had another moment where I was like, wait, 11 books? So then I went and looked at Fictional Fates video just to see the books that are mentioned. And there are two books on there that are so hard to find in the TV show. Like they are very obscure and just like you only see them for a second in the TV show that I definitely missed them the first time. I'm not gonna lie, okay? It's truth hour, it's story time. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I did not catch them on the first go around. And I found out like after like watching a little bit of Fictional Fates video that they actually messaged Toby from Heartstopper to get the actual list that he read in the show. Okay, so I did not have the luxury of doing that. I did not do that. So I did miss these two books and I ended up picking them up at the library. So that is pretty much
what happened? I added 2 books to the already growing stack of books that I'm gonna be reading for this vlog. That being said, I will say if you guys are interested in Fictional Fates video, you can find that down below in the description. I did want to link that because I did end up doing some like research, I guess, on the TBR from his video. So if you guys are interested in that, definitely check it out. I haven't watched the whole video because I wanted to make sure that my thoughts were as unbiased as possible for this vlog, but if you're interested, you can click that link down below. So the 2 books that I ended up picking up at the library are these 2 books, and I'm not gonna lie, I did not want to read this one. This first one was The Time Traveler's Wife. I've seen the movie and I didn't like it. I didn't like it, okay? So I was not super happy about this one. But the other one on the flip side was Noughts and Crosses, which is actually a book that I've wanted to read because I've seen like a little tiny portion of the TV show because Monique actually was watching it at one point and it was just very interesting. Very, very interesting. So The Time Traveler's Wife is exactly what the title says. It's basically about a young woman who is the wife of a time traveler, and it's very much about their romance and kind of how they make it work because he's jumping all over the place. Time is happening and he cannot control it. So that's the story with that. And then in Noughts and Crosses, this is basically a flip of, instead of African being sold into slavery, what if white people were? And it takes place in Great Britain, and it's just kind of a reimagining of like what life would be like if there were knots, like have-nots and crosses. So yeah, those are the 2 books that I ended up picking up at the library. I actually ended up reading like 5 books over the amount of time since we've been apart. All that being said, let's get into talking about these books. So the first book that I ended up finishing at the library when like I went to go check these books out was Quantum Mechanics. Can you believe it? Can you believe I read this book? I even annotated this book. Why? Why, you ask? Okay, so the thing with Quantum Mechanics is this, and I didn't really understand at the time why Isaac would be reading this book, but looking back, I do. So in Quantum Mechanics, this is basically like a guide for beginners, like beginner physicists who are trying to learn the concepts and kind of like broad pictures of quantum mechanics. Non-physicists, such as me and I'm sure many other people, would not really understand the formulas and concepts in this book, but the general big picture, big ticket items are very easy to understand. And going off of my theory that Isaac is a sci-fi guy, he likes time travel, he's very into kind of like what can be and things like that, this is pretty much the perfect book for him, right? So he's obviously a smart dude and wants to know more about it. And quantum mechanics is all about kind of like what's happening on a very small scale with like time travel and things that you can't necessarily physically see, right? Okay. So I actually found this book to be hilarious at some points. I don't think the author meant to do that, but there are just some quotes in here that are just like so LOL. I'm gonna read one to you guys so you can get what I'm saying. So he says this after he's just explained this really important formula that you need for quantum mechanics. He says, "I realize this is the kind of hopelessly abstract statement that makes people give up on quantum mechanics and take up surfing instead." The second quote, "Uncertainty is one of the hallmarks of quantum mechanics." And thirdly, quantum mechanics is the real description of nature. Classical mechanics, while beautiful and elegant, is nevertheless an approximation. So what we can pretty much learn is that a lot of quantum mechanics, there are a lot of mentions kind of similar to these quotes throughout the book. Quantum mechanics is very uncertain. There's no like true way to know what's going to be happening by using the mathematical like equations. You can only kind of get a probability or something about what's happening with quantum mechanics. That's what I understand. Hopefully that was the point. Like I said, I'm not a physicist, but for someone like Isaac, I think this would be his cup of tea. And this actually, like I said before, is the second book in a series of lectures about this material. So honestly, if I really wanted to succeed, I would have read the first one. But I didn't know that at the time, because does it say volume 1 or 2 on here? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Okay, getting into the second and third books that I read during our period away from each other. The Time Traveler's Wife. Okay, like I said, I did not like the movie, so I was not exactly ready or willing to read this book, but I did for the vlog. And this is why it makes a ton of sense, because in the show, Isaac actually reads this before quantum mechanics. So this is all about time travel, and it goes hand in hand with Dune, right? Okay, we got time travel, we got space travel, we got lots of concepts and like what ifs and how people can be not magical, I guess, but you know, like how they can be doing a lot of crazy things. So in Time Traveler's Wife, it is almost the perfect combination of Isaac's interests, like science and romance, because I feel like another theme with all of the books that he is reading is that he is looking for love, looking for a love story. This particular love story ends up being incredibly sad. But there is actually mention of quantum mechanics in this book. Like, crazily enough. And when I saw that, everything clicked and made sense, and I was like, no wonder Isaac picks up quantum mechanics. He wants to learn more about time travel and like what's going on in the world. I don't understand it personally, but I bet he does, because he's a smart guy, smart young lad. Anyway, so really, like, that's all I can say about Time Traveler's Wife. I am more interested in the TV show now, weirdly enough, because I read the book, but I still don't think I want to watch the end. Like, I don't think I want to watch that because it is incredibly sad. But the writing was good, but the plot was sad. Noughts and Crosses, which is the next book that I read, this one was so interesting because it says on the front that it's a thriller, right? But for me, it was like a Romeo and Juliet, like political romance. Does that mean it's a thriller? I don't think so. I don't think so. But in my opinion, I feel like Isaac might have picked this up because he was like, okay, we've done the sci-fi, right? We've done the romance, right? We've done the quantum mechanics. We've done the science. So now I kind of want to like stretch out. I kind of want to do like a thriller, like just change up the genre, you know? That's because that's how we are. We read a bunch of romance. Suddenly we're out here reading a nonfiction book about asexuality, okay? And that's just the way the cookie crumbles. So I feel as though he picked this up because it's a thriller, but also low-key a Romeo and Juliet like retelling, because it's about star-crossed lovers, like, you know, two people who cannot be together. And I think the concept of this is really great. Like, the premise of Noughts and Crosses is super great, and I actually really liked the world. Like, I liked seeing how it was different in the book, but I think the end of it, like literally the end of this book, I was like, why did we go through all that? Why did we go through all that? It almost was exactly the same as Time Traveler's Wife. It's like almost exactly the same as how I felt, because in both of these books, I was like, why did we go through this for that? So based on my findings, because both of these endings were so unsatisfactory and Isaac was on a thriller like kick, like wanted to read a really good thriller and one that had a phenomenal ending, that brings me to the next book that I read, which is A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. Now this book is very, very good. This is like a YA murder mystery thriller. And it reminds me a lot of Sadie, if you guys have read that book by Courtney Summers. It's got like the interview style of writing in it. If you guys have ever read like a Karen McManus, it's like in the same vibe as that. And I'm finding that I really enjoy that. Like, this book, chef's kiss. I also think this is the exact thriller that Isaac wanted, because there are so many moving parts in this, and like, Isaac is a smart person, you know what I mean? And so in this, it's so fun because you get to see all these different aspects of the murder and kind of like what our main character is uncovering while like doing her school project. And I think it's so fun to just kind of like connect the dots and try and figure out the mystery. And the end, y'all, the end of this book was so satisfying. I was like, this is exactly the thriller that he wanted. Seriously. I'm not gonna lie, I was a little skeptical because there is a second book and a third book, apparently. So I was like, how can you have a murder mystery if it doesn't get solved in the first book? But it all makes sense. It all makes sense. So this one, really enjoyed, and I will be continuing on, like, quality. So then, after A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, we get into the last book that I read while I was away, and that is a classic. Dare I say it? Pride and Prejudice. This copy, I didn't have to buy this book, okay? Because I own multiple copies of Pride and Prejudice. I was like, I haven't read this specific copy that I've had for years in a long time, so I'm just gonna crack this baby open. You know, old yellow pages and all. And let me tell you, this book still holds up. I haven't read Pride and Prejudice in a long time. Like, I honestly cannot remember the last time I read it. Is it still like the feminist anthem of its time? Yes. Is it the OG hate to love romance? Yes. Okay, it's just quick-witted, smart, and it truly is romance. Okay, I cannot believe the way that these two hate each other, but then simultaneously like one another. It's like really crazy to me. I don't know I don't know. What is about it, okay? I don't know. I was like, dang, I need to rewatch this movie immediately. What else can I say? Like, there's this one scene in Heartstopper where Isaac is like,
but I want to believe in romance.
And I feel like this is literally why he read this book. Literally why. I mean, granted, there's some cute stuff happening in this one. I did not expect it, but I was rooting for it. I was like, okay, you're acting crazy. But really, truly just wanted to read a romance. A romance, everyone, okay? So that's why, you know, how can you go wrong with a classic like Pride and Prejudice? And that's really all I have to say. So that pretty much like ended my weekend of reading, and Stephanie from Stephanie Bookish came over to my house on Sunday, and we actually rewatched Heartstopper and had like a cute little like friend hangout thing. I guess that's just hanging out with your friend. Like, it's not like a cute friend hangout thing, but anyway. So now that I've watched Heartstopper with fresh eyes, I can confirm that these two books, after watching Heartstopper for the 4th time, these two books are literally almost unseeable in the freaking show. Okay, so the fact that Fictional Fates went and like DM'd Toby, I'm like, good for you. I could never. I mean, I could. Maybe I might, but at the time, I didn't even think about it. So anyway, now we've got the confirmed list of all the books that we need to be reading for this vlog. And we have the next book that I'm going to be reading for this vlog. You guys might have noticed it's out of order, and that's because I had to order it from the UK. It's coming all the way from the UK. And it's taking its sweet time getting here. So in the meantime, I read Pride and Prejudice, which was the next book on the list. Lo and behold, it still is not here in the vicinity. It is still going to be taking until June to get here, and we cannot wait that long. So I decided to pick up the ebook of Proud by Gareth Thomas. Now this story, when I first started this vlog, you guys will know I did not know what this was about. I thought it was probably about something LGBTQIA+ related, but I wasn't sure. So now I know the details. This is basically about an athlete who comes out like publicly and is one of the first like famous athletes to have come out. And I believe it's like a press conference type situation. I'm not entirely sure, but I can imagine that that's probably incredibly difficult, and that this story is going to be really, really good. I'm actually really excited to get into it. So that's going to be the next book for this vlog that we're going to be getting into. And the good news is I am working for the rest of this week, so that means I'll have money, first of all, but second of all, plenty of time to read these books. So the next time I see you guys, we will be talking about Proud, and I'll let you know why Isaac might have wanted to read this book. I mean, clearly, I think he's reading this book because his friend, Charlie, he's gay, and he just joined the rugby team, and so it's kind of like hand in hand. Not exactly, he's not gonna be like a famous athlete. I mean, who knows, he could, I don't know, world is your oyster. But, he's kind of seeing some similarities between his life and the book that he's reading. So that's why I think he might be reading it. Yeah. That's all I got. Anyway, okay, so I will see you guys at that check-in.
Okay, first of all, guys, what's funny is my hair really did this by itself. I mean, is this my new hair? Wait, I don't think I look bad with short hair. I really almost did the whole entire thing like this, so let's just get comfortable. Yes, I'm wearing Lore Olympus. Are you a fan? Are you a Nikki fan? Anyway, I really gotta get a hold on my TikTok references. I'm doing too much and I'm going a little crazy. So this is the check-in. This is the moment. We're in the moment. We're gonna be doing 3 books because it's been some days. It's been a number of days. I've been working, like I said, and I've finished 3 books. So I have 1 book left. Let me talk about these books. So first and foremost, I read this book, Proud by Gareth Thomas. I'm not going to talk about the fact that Amazon sent me a literal used library book when I clicked new. So needless to say, I will be honestly returning this physical copy. That's neither here nor there because I actually read it on ebook. And as you guys can see from the wonderful vlog footage. Wait, I have Kindle Unlimited? I never knew. Winner of the British Sports Book Awards. Sports Book of the Year. Oh, he's a rugby player. He's a rugby player. Yeah, he's definitely reading this because Charlie joined the rugby team. Okay, I'm glad that we solved that mystery. You know, getting into the inner workings. That's all I'm gonna say. I'm gonna read now. Bye-bye. So let's talk about Proud. So I didn't know what to expect. I thought this was going to be more about his time coming out as a professional rugby player. But this is actually his autobiography, which is hilarious because it says on the front, Proud, my autobiography. Who's a reader? Not me, not this girl. Anyway, so I enjoyed this for the education on his life as it pertained to him coming out as a famous professional athlete in the UK. Okay, obviously that's a very specific way of going about explaining like what I enjoyed about this book, but I'm not gonna lie, the rugby parts were a little bit of a drag for me. And I think that's because I don't know a single thing about rugby. But I liked the parts about his career and kind of like how events that happened throughout his life affected how he felt about his sexuality and also affected his career and kind of like the choices that he made throughout his life, even like, you know, marrying a woman and having to come out to her and dealing with their divorce, trying to come back from that, aka face the fact that he is a gay man, you know? And I think what I learned most about him and this autobiography is Gareth Thomas was so scared to come out. He was so scared of what people thought of him that he let it control his life. And I'm not saying that that is easy. It is not. It is not easy to come out. It's not easy to tell anybody about a part of yourself that you're afraid will be judged, whether it's your sexuality or, you know, your identity, really anything like that. It's very hard. So I'm not judging that and I'm not saying anything negative about that. It really just hit me, you know what I mean? And I think that's kind of the point of the autobiography. Obviously, it's to talk about his career as well as a rugby player, that kind of a thing. But it was just so important for him to have done this. And by this, I mean to have come out as a professional athlete, because there's a portion in here where he gets all these letters from people who are still hiding their sexuality and have never felt comfortable doing so, and how they had written him and just said, thank you for being, you know, essentially like a role model. Thank you for being a person who has done this. You know, it means a lot to me. And it wasn't just like people around his age. It was literally like elderly people, young people, like all these different people from walks of life that just looked up to him and kind of like what he did. And it's just so important, I think, because he didn't see himself as like this gay hero, you know? He just kind of saw himself as a normal human being. And this was a part of him that he had to share because he was in the spotlight. And there was a moment before he came out publicly that he freaked out. He was like, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. I don't want to come out, because he was just so scared of that judgment. And it really hit me. It was emotional. But the rugby parts, I probably could have done without. I'm not gonna lie. I didn't really get it. I was like, oh man, I should have learned or watched a game or something before I read this book, because I don't know anything about it. But what I can say about Gareth Thomas is that he is very good at setting a goal and attaining it. He was very disciplined in rugby, and ultimately he paved the way for so many people to come out and be comfortable publicly in athletics. I think it's the equivalent of somebody being a professional football player here in America and being the first, you know, American football player to come out as gay, and having the support of their teammates, you know, because essentially that's what happened. Gareth came out to 2 of his teammates after coming out to like his best friend, I think, and the teammates were literally like, cool, we're gonna support you, like live your life, it doesn't change anything. It ties in well with another one of the books we're gonna talk about in a second. But anyway, so that's it. Would I have you know, pick this up by myself. Probably not. I'm not like the biggest rugby fan, as I've said, but if you're interested in that, that is what Proud is about. Why do I think that Isaac read this book? Obviously, it's kind of what I said earlier, like his friend is literally a gay rugby player. And I think Isaac just wanted to know more information about like pretty much the first, not even pretty much, like the first rugby player that was famous to have come out. Maybe some of his trials and like what he had to deal with. So I think that's exactly why Isaac wanted to read this, so that he could better support Charlie and maybe just know a little bit more about it, because obviously that's his friend and he's worried about him. Like they're all worried about him when he first starts playing rugby. What more can I say? I feel like, you know, Isaac is a smart guy. He likes to know things, and that's that. So segueing into, actually it wasn't even a segue, it's just the next book that I read, which was Radio Silence. My copy did come in, and this book has a special place in my heart now because it features a demisexual character, and that is close to my heart. So I really enjoyed this, and I liked that it wasn't, I didn't know what to expect, okay? I wasn't sure if it was going to be a YA romance or just like a YA contemporary. Like I just wasn't sure what to expect, but I think you can tell good writing from just the first page, and like that's not me, you know, blowing smoke. It really is just like gripping from the first page, and it sucks you in, and you just kind of want to know more about the characters, and I think that this was just such a good book. It's also a good book for like platonic friendships, because that was the thing that Alice kept mentioning in here. That was just such a nice theme to have, because usually when you read books, like there's always a character that's going to get with another character or whatever, and just kind of having that theme of platonic friendship, and then also not only featuring a demisexual main character but like other queer characters. I really loved it. And it also deals with mental health and abuse. So if those are triggers for you, definitely look that up. Let's get to why Isaac is reading this book. We know so far in the series that Isaac kind of took the place of Aled or Aled. I'm not really sure how to say it. I feel like this is a British name, but I don't know how to say it. He kind of took the place in the show, right, of this character. And Alice was quoted saying, and I quote, that basically she just didn't feel like the storyline for Aled or Aled would have been done justice if he had been included in the show, because Aled is actually a character in Radio Silence, and he has such a complicated backstory and just whole storyline in general. And he faces his own set of things that aren't really highlighted in the Heartstopper graphic novels. Alice has said that she will, you know, leave him out so that she can play with that storyline later. And what I'm thinking is this was almost like an homage to him, you know, the character holding the character, that kind of a thing. But also it could be something that is just kind of like an Easter egg. Watch out, guys. Maybe Radio Silence is next, or maybe like her other book series are next to be produced into shows or movies or whatever. We don't know, but that's kind of why I think this was included. It was almost as a nod to Aled, and kind of, you know, Isaac isn't Aled. Obviously, Isaac is basically a wild card, and you don't really know much about him because he's new, and his storyline can go anywhere. Like he can be anybody, he could be anything. But this is a nod to kind of like the place that he took in the TV show. So that's why I think Radio Silence was being read by Isaac in this moment. I mean, it's a good book. It's a good book. This was definitely the quickest read in this whole entire blog. Like it was just, couldn't put it down. Could not put it down. And that leads me into the next book, which I also could not put down. And that was Gender Explorers. This is probably my favorite book from the whole entire blog so far. I mean, I still have one more to read, but like I said earlier, I think that one's really just gonna scare me than have me like be in love with it. Gender Explorers is basically just a bunch of interviews with a group of trans people at different ages, starting from like, I believe age 8, maybe a couple of younger kids are in here too, maybe like 5 or 6, but around that age too. I think the oldest person is like 28 or 29, something like that. I thought this was just such a good read. The first interview made me cry. It just like really broke my heart. Some of the stuff I was like, oh my God, I freaking hate mean people. But yeah, I think that this is so important, especially if you're trying to learn more about the trans community and just how to support and how to be an ally. And even if you don't have someone in your life that is identifying as trans or gender fluid or something like that, I mean, I think it's still just such a valuable tool to understanding how the trans community feels. And obviously this isn't just like an end all be all. This is just a tiny, you know, interview segment of these two groups from, I think the two groups are, I think they're Gendered Intelligence and then Mermaids. Those are the two groups that help support trans community and like safety, and also give out information for the community. But anyway, that's where the interviews are coming from. It's like those two groups. But yeah, I just think this was so important because not only does it interview the trans kids, but it also interviews the parents. And I think anybody who just wants a better look and just might have questions or just kind of how to deal with their emotions should really read this book. And yeah, it just gives you so much insight and it's so powerful. Like, this was so powerful to me. I highly encourage you, if you read one book from this whole entire vlog, like, I really truly think this is the one that you should read. It's not that long. It's only 180 or so pages. There's just so much important stuff in here. And I ended up like tabbing a few things because I just thought it just hit me. And I just think that the trans community is so strong in just their everyday lives. And it just breaks my heart, the kind of things that they have to deal with just trying to be humans. Sorry, my voice is breaking a little bit. But yeah, so anyway, really, really important to see that ultimately the trans community is happier when they make the decision to be themselves. And that's all I'm gonna say. I feel like I've been ranting about this for a long time, but yeah, this book was really, really good. Whew. Okay. I'm not gonna cry. Okay. Anyway, so I think Isaac was reading this obviously because he has a friend who is trans. And I think he was trying to get into the mindset of his friend and just learn more about it. Like, Isaac is a curious guy. He likes to know about the world and have a broad knowledge of a lot of different things. And it's so important that this book actually is about kids and young adults and adults, I guess, you know, 28, 29-year-olds that are in the UK. Really, the explanation is as simple as that. Probably why he was reading it. And maybe, you know, he's questioning things about himself. I mean, we don't really know that much about Isaac, so it could be the world is his oyster or their oyster or her oyster. So anyway, highly, highly recommend if you read any of these, this is the one to read. Okay, the last book that I have to read for this vlog, and the one that I think is going to be hopefully not the hardest one to read, it's There Is No Planet B. This is the updated version, and Amazon was rude enough to send me this like little copy too. Like, what is happening? It says, we still have a chance to live better than ever on planet Earth. But as humans become ever more powerful, how can we avoid blundering into disaster? There Is No Planet B presents joined up thinking on climate, food, ecology, population, economics, and more, all mapped out in an accessible, robust, and entertaining way. At least it's entertaining. Okay, so it's almost like a how to be a better person. Okay, maybe I won't hate this as much as possible. This might be a really nice roundup to this vlog. Okay, so I am going to get dressed. I'm gonna put on some makeup. I'm gonna go to my fave coffee shop right now. Y'all already know. And I'm gonna try and read this book in one sitting because they stay open until 10. So like, I'm about to go lurk. So I'll see you guys in a little. Okay, everybody, we are finally into the final portion of this vlog, and I know, I can't believe it's almost over. But I did want to talk about this book, There Is No Planet B, which is the last book that we'll be talking about fully in this vlog. So fasten your seatbelts because this is going to be a wild ride. So I told you guys that I was a little scared to get into this book. And that's not because it's a horror, unless you count real life being a true blue horror film. But There Is No Planet B is basically outlining the dangers that the whole entire world is kind of in based on different things: climate change, food, ecology, population, economics, and how all of these things kind of come together and relate to one another as like the world changes and we use more energy as people, and kind of like what that means for the future. So the reason why this book was pretty scary to me is because I actually used to be really big into climate change and just like doing better for the environment, and I was very vocal about it, did a lot of research about it, and was just like very concerned with where the world was going. And this was pre-COVID, so it was like a while ago, and I still have those kind of like
feelings and thoughts for myself. Like I still compost and I still try and buy less plastic and just like do little things that use less energy and, you know, kind of are like better for the world. Soon after doing all this research myself, I kind of went into a, oh my God, we're all gonna die phase. So it was just really, really scary because when you realize that you're only one person out of like billions and billions of people on the planet, it's really hard to start change. And that's not just with, you know, climate change, that's with anything, right? I had just kind of resigned myself to being a better human and like doing what I could as an individual. The rest of what the world is just going to do what the rest of the world does. So this book specifically lays out how all of these moving parts kind of come together to analyze, you know, how much energy we're using and what that means as the world's temperature increases, and kind of like how much time we have before it's almost a little too late because there is no planet B. It was a really interesting read. Like I said, it was scary because it just laid out all of those things that I kind of already knew about the world and kind of like people in general, but it was very informational because at the end of some of the chapters there were like these summary points where it kind of laid out what you could do as an individual to like downsize your carbon footprint and kind of like support the earth in a more nurturing way instead of just like take. I really liked that. That was great. There were some parts that were, you know, a little hard to get through, more sciencey types of things in this book, but I did appreciate how there were like step-by-step ways that you can, you know, lower your carbon footprint, and it was very digestible for a non-science person. Quantum mechanics, no idea what was happening. This, very digestible. It was very good. My whole point is, that is what the book is about. It was a little scary because it's throwing in your face the facts and figures and the truth of the world and kind of like where we are. Probably the best quote of this book was at the very, very end. It's like one of the points at the very end of like what I can do, like that chapter. It just says, don't beat yourself up over shortcomings and don't let yourself off the hook either. Don't be put off by doing what you can. It's far better to set challenging standards and fall short than to give up before you start. And that was nice to hear because basically I feel like that's what I did years ago. I was like, I'm just not gonna try and change people's minds because who likes somebody yelling in their face? They're like, the world is ending. Obviously no one, but you know, maybe leading by example and still trying to set these like attainable goals, just like easy ways to be a better person and just keep fighting. So anyway, that's the tea on this book. Now, why do I think Isaac was reading it? It's for a lot of the similar reasons. You know, I've been talking in this vlog nonstop about how Isaac is a science guy. Isaac is a science guy. I think he's a dreamer, he's a lover, and I think overall he's a very sweet and like loving, kind person. And I think for him, anything he can do to like help somebody else understand somebody, love somebody, and just kind of like be a better person. I think that's what he wants to do, while also dreaming of like these big scale concepts of like time travel, space travel. You know, there is no planet B. We're not necessarily going to Mars as like the new Mars colony in the next century, but you know, what can we do to keep this planet alive and nurture Earth, you know? So I think overall that's like a grand picture of like who Isaac is as a person. Reading this entire list, like literally, can you believe I read this many books? I read a whole book in one day. I read this many books and I feel like I really got to know Isaac. Not only, like I said, is he a lover, a science guy, he really values his friendships and wants to understand his friends and love them in any way he can. And I just think, I feel like this reading list really gave us a good insight into who he is as a person. Because like I said before, he is a new character. We have no idea who Isaac is. He isn't in the graphic novels. So I think this reading list was almost essential to like get to know him. And I think every person who reads this reading list can kind of get different things from it and learn more about Isaac in their own way. But this was really insightful for me, because really, who is Isaac? That was the whole question. That was the whole point of this vlog. And hopefully now that we know that there are going to be seasons 2 and 3 of Heartstopper, I'm so excited. We'll get to know Isaac a little bit better, because at this point, it's all up in the air. If I had to predict who he is and who he's going to be, all of those things I mentioned will be part of his personality. That's my analysis. Dr. Severn out. Overall, my favorite book, I think, was Gender Explorers, just because it gave me such good insight. A Good Girl's Guide to Murder was a fun thriller. I enjoyed Dune a lot more than I thought I would. Like, shocker, that was probably the most surprising one. You know, I probably could have done without quantum mechanics and the time traveler's wife. Will I be watching the show though? Yeah, I truly do think that's all I want to say, and I do just want to say thank you guys for coming with me on this journey. I know this vlog is a little bit late, but it is the 1 month anniversary of Heartstopper coming out, so we can all clap to that, and also celebrate the fact that I really finished all of these books, even though I said that I was going to be doing mood reading May. She's learned. Okay, anyway, so I learned a lot. I feel like Isaac and I are friends. You never know. And that's a wrap. That's it. That's all I got to say. So if you guys end up actually wanting to read these books, or if you've read any of these books and you like them, maybe you didn't like some, let me know. This is the one you definitely should be reading from the whole entire stack. This one, if you see a future for Earth, but if you don't, it's not really much I can say about that. You know what I'm saying? Also, this one, like I said, was the scariest one that I read. You know, I feel intimately closer to Isaac. I feel as though we are friends. We could hang out and we could talk about a lot of things together, because now I know what books he likes to read. I would be interested to know like what his favorite book of this reading vlog was. I don't know. One of these. Maybe, but I'd have to actually talk to him. So I'm gonna end this vlog here. So thank you guys so much for joining me and going on this crazy kooky journey, because I know it was a lot. It was a lot. Okay, that's 11 books. Remember when I started out and I was like, oh, there are 9 books. Please be sure to like this video if you liked it. Comment down below any questions, comments, or concerns that you may have. Go ahead and subscribe if you want to support me and Monique on this channel, and click that notification bell if you don't want to miss another video from us, because we come out with some really cool content occasionally. And that's it. I'm gonna log off. It was really fun hanging out with you guys. Bye.